Get your chair. I'm trying to see where I'm in both cameras. Get your chair. Get your mat. Get your line up if you're walking wall to wall. Get your weights if you're doing your weights. Um, Jump on your bike. Start your treadmill. Thanks for coming on the walk. Please like, comment, share, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. Alright, tell you. Let me see if y'all can see my feet. It's most important that y'all see my feet than anything else. Well, to me. Yeah, y'all. Come on for the walk. Please like, comment, share, tell a friend, tell an auntie, tell an uncle, tell a grandpa, tell a grandma. Let's get this party started right. Whew. I can't wait till I'm freewheeling, exercising, and I just have the videos as my encouragement. So I'm excited about that. But I want to finish my conversation on abortions. I think I titled yesterday, The Abortion. And then that's all I'm going to say about that, because I think this Roe v. Wade thing is a smoke screen for so many things. You just got to live long enough to see through the BS. But anyway. Whew. Better on the exit than the entrance. That's what I can tell you. So, on this side, yesterday I spoke about abortions. But I spoke about abortion. I have to start this again. Okay, I'm interrupting. I have to start this again because before I had to jump on the bike. My core and legs were so strong that I could walk on the treadmill without holding on. And I felt a little embarrassed when I was working out with the trainer, Johanna. And she said, don't use two hands, don't use one hand. And so I took both my hands off. I said, I don't have to hold on at all. She said, one hand because it helps your core. And I was like, I don't have to do any hands at all. But I had gotten off the treadmill. So I got to do my whole balance adjustment again and wait for the muscle memory to kick in. And also, I knew walking slow and walking hand-free was core building. Go back and look at the old videos. So I knew that. Excuse me. All right. So, let's talk about abortions. I had two aunts who went to backdoor butchers for abortions, and they were never able to conceive again. Now, you say, why is that important? It's because they had just left the South. They just left Smithfield, Virginia. The whole family just made it from Smithfield, Virginia. See, when immigrants talk about, oh, I just came to America, and then they don't understand as African Americans, we have our own immigrant story within the United States. And the immigrant story is, we had to flee the oppressive South to be able to grow in this country. Just like you left another country to come to this country to grow, we had to flee a section of this country for us to have freedoms. So they had just come to New York, just finding out that they can't get any jobs other than cleaning and babysitting. That was it. Um, they fled up here to find out that they can't go to school because there's no record of their schooling in Virginia. And though they had gone to school to like the fifth, sixth, everybody could write, everybody could read, and everybody could do math. So they figured once they come north, but they didn't find that. They found good time partying like in Virginia. So all the Virginia folks get together and it was party in the party. And then while they partying, two of my aunts got pregnant. And my grandmother took them to the backstreet butcher. And they was never able to have kids. Now, the difference is when my mother got pregnant, I don't think she told my grandmother. She basically just, I guess my grandmother just looked at her and said, "Oh, you're pregnant." Because she couldn't tell her ahead of time because it was hard. I think for my grandmother, she had all kind of issues. I don't know if she was half white. I just know she always had these long braids and she didn't look white. I knew she was my grandmother, but she just had these braids, these two long braids that she would just like wrap around her head. I knew, to me, she didn't look like anybody else in the family. And I don't remember seeing her side. And then when we finally did have a family reunion long after she was dead, no one looked like her. No one was her complexion. So that means either she was a product of a rape. That points to the abortion issue. Or a rape, like as far as Caucasian men back in the days, they could literally walk in your house, strip you naked, rape you, walk out, and go on with their lives, and nothing would happen to them. That's why they're still doing it. Because they got away with it for so long, many generations. Or she's Native American. And in either case, there's a lie going around that African Americans are so proud. Oh, all African Americans claim that they're Native American. All African Americans. No, they don't. Because if she was, and back in the day, if you was, it was nothing to be proud of. Because they hated the Native American as much, if not more, as they hated us. So it's almost like being a transsexual, a transgender person. You was born that way. And though everybody hates you, it doesn't matter. You was born that way. So my grandmother was born either the product of a rape, because I don't have any Europeans traced back in the bloodline. Nobody said that. Or she was Native American, and which nobody in the family would ever talk about. So there you have it. So my grandmother, on my mother's side, she supported abortion. I think she knew how it was to be stuck in a marriage with an abusive husband and 5 kids. Where are you going to go? I remember in my head and the pictures that I remember seeing of her. I can tell you right now, I remember she always had these bubble-like lips, but also my aunts had it too. I found out later on, that's from getting punched in the face a lot and getting punched in the lip. And then that cyst never grows back. So you have that little pucker there, pucker here sometimes. And I think it's where when they hit you, wherever your teeth goes down into your lip, wherever your teeth goes down into your lip, it leaves that mark. And I remember her having a lot of those. She used to have like these knots. Because I remember I used to touch her because I couldn't understand. She looked like my grandfather was very abusive to her. So when her daughter started getting pregnant, she was like, don't get in the situation I'm in. But what she did to her two daughters was she took them to a backstreet butcher and they were never able to have kids. My mother and my Aunt Lucy, they didn't tell her. You just didn't tell her. You could say, oh, Mom, I'm pregnant. You weren't married. She'd take you to a backstreet butcher. And they had already seen what had happened to the other two sisters. So, my bad. Who was my mother? My great. Yeah. She had 6 kids. My grandmother, on my mother's side. So, when they said, so I think she did it to my Aunt Sarah too, because my Aunt Sarah only had 1 kid, Wooly. And Willie came through, was the same age as my mother and my aunts. And she never had any more. And in my head I imagined that when she went to my grandmother and said, you know, Mom, I'm pregnant. My grandmother found a backstreet abortionist. She just, you just wasn't going to be strapped down with kids. So, my mother had 3, and then my Aunt Lucy had 4, and that was it. There was 2 sisters that couldn't have any. One older sister that had one, but backstreet abortion, she couldn't have any more. And that's what backstreet abortion happens. You can be sterile for life. And there's also a story I want to tell you about a friend of my sister's. My sister's friend, we'll call her B. B met this guy at an orgy. And she was talking about the guy. Now, the guy, how does the story go? My sister needed a place to stay. So the guy says, well, why don't you live in the house of my ex-girlfriend? And, you know, she said yes. B said yes. So my sister moved in. So then my sister sits down and confides in me. And she says, wow. I asked her, why didn't B have any kids? I mean, she loved my daughter's kids. So much so, anyway, that's another story. So, my sister says, well, B doesn't have any kids. Because when B was 13, B got pregnant. And B's mother took her to a backstreet abortion clinic. See, that's what I'm trying to tell you. As far as African Americans are concerned, if they have to, because life is hard out here. For us, trust me, racism is a hard load. Heavy, hard load. Whew, so, the abortionist, the backstreet abortionist, sterilized me. Like my 2 aunts were sterilized, well, 3 aunts were sterilized. And she thought that was the reason why she couldn't get any man. So then my sister proceeds to tell me, and I said, get a man. She was dating a guy that helped you get the house. So then my sister tells me, she says, that the orgy that her friend went to and met her future husband was the orgy, I'll just say my sister's landlord. How did I mix that up? It didn't make sense. Yes, my sister's landlord, the woman whose house she moved in to. I said, you moved in to, her house. And I'll probably have to start the story again. Sorry, let's take a break. Please like, comment, share, tell a friend, tell an auntie, tell a cousin. Tell everybody, child. Everybody. Don't leave nobody out. Whew. Hey. Thanks for the thumbs up in YouTube. Hey, look at that. Ha ha. Morning. Great. Rosin. I don't like the word morning because it sounds so much like no, it's right, sunrise, risings. Okay, I'm gonna tell the same story, but I'm gonna tell a lot better. And I'm getting a podcast, right? You think I better tell stories a lot better than this? All right, so. Okay, so my sister, this co-worker she works with is B. B refers my sister, who needed an apartment, to her husband's ex-girlfriend, who is a homeowner. So my sister went and lived there, and she became my sister's landlord. And we will refer to her as landlord. So, I'm talking to my sister one day, and she was, she confided to me. I said, why doesn't your landlord have any kids? Because she's really good with kids and everything, but I don't see her having any. And that's when my sister told me that the landlord at 13 became pregnant, and the mother took her to a backstreet butcher, so she could never have kids. So even though she was in a relationship with B's now husband, her boyfriend then, she always felt insecure because she couldn't give him any children. She said she couldn't give any man any children because that's what society says. If you don't have children, then you're blah, blah, blah. Men, not society. Men is all part of the psychological oppression. If you don't have kids, you're blah, 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 blah. Okay. So, then my sister tells me the story. She says, you know how she had gotten pregnant at 13? And I was like, yeah, I know how you get pregnant. And she said, no. The landlord told her that the landlord and the landlord's mother had a wonderful relationship and really loved one another. And then the landlord, she turned 13, and the landlord's mother said, you're a woman. I'm not going to pet you, I'm not going to sit on my lap, I'm not going to kiss you, I'm not going to hug you anymore. You're a woman. So, the landlord said she felt the mother like pushing her away. Because the mother kept saying, you're a woman, you're a woman. So she said, okay, she's a woman. She's young, her mother's pushing out. They used to lay together in the bed and stuff like that, but the mother said, no, you're a woman now. Stay in your own bed and all this kind of stuff. So she found a man that said, hey, you can lay in my bed next to me. And at 13, she became pregnant. And her mother took her to a backstreet butcher. And she could never have kids anymore. And though she has so many things in life, so many things, she never really had anything because she lived her life, she did what she wanted to do, she traveled, she did all that stuff. But for her, she felt her life was greatly hindered because she couldn't have any children. So there's that. And it was something, so anyway. Oh, that's what happens. That's a chance you take. But I want to tell you something. When I look at the DeBar show on Unsung, and the mother said, or someone said, that because she had, 10 DeBarges? Because at a certain amount of kids, that man can darn near beat you to death. Unless you decide to just give up on your family and run for your life, you'll stay there and you'll take abuse. Because you have so many kids, you become the control of that man. He can starve you. He can stop you from working, feeding your kids. Back in the days, not so much now, but back in those days. He would beat you and beat you and beat you. Kids grow up, hate you, they don't understand it. They don't go to counseling and get it straight. And it was horrible back then. There's a line from The Color Purple where Alice Walker writes about, oh gosh, what's her name? Oh, not Celie. Oh gosh, not Ophelia. Can't think of her name. Oh, Oprah Winfrey. Okay? She played the role, in Oprah Winfrey's role. And she said, they kept a fighting and the babies kept coming. And they kept fighting and the babies kept coming. Because when you get to a point with so many kids, ain't no family gonna take you in. You and your 8 kids cannot come live with them. Okay? So that man can basically stomp you out. Back in the days. Today, thank goodness, agencies and the police will come straight in and straighten everything out. Better to take care of it now than to have a bunch of crazy kids later on. And I'm going to tell you something. Kids from abusive relationships, whew, 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 whew. Girls and boys. And they be wondering too, how come I watched him punch you across the room, but now your stomach is big? They don't understand that he raped her, but in marriage you can't say rape. I mean, in some states you can, but in some states you can't. And that baby that you see is a product of that rape. And you understand why a woman who has so many kids can literally start hating her kids. because they are the product of a constant rape and a reminder of the rapes. So, all I can say is, I think as African Americans, an African American woman, we found that out early. And as I said, my grandmother, on my mother's side, 4 girls and 2 boys, she wasn't going to let her girls be in the situation that she was in. And a marriage, very abusive marriage. But that was during the time she couldn't get credit. She couldn't get a job. She couldn't do anything, and she couldn't get an abortion. All she could do was have these children from a man that beat her up and took sex when he felt like it, and the law said okay. And every day, you gotta see the kids. And do you remember what fight it was? What child was a product of what? Punch out and rape? Was that it? Oh, I know when I conceived you. Yeah. It was the night that your dad came home and I opened the door and he punched me from the front door to the kitchen, stripped off all my clothes and raped me. That's when I had you. Yeah. I love you. Not true, honey. Not true. You have a damaged mother. A very damaged mother who every time looks at you sees the product of the damage. So, and I think sometimes with kids say, you know, I really don't think my mother loves me. I don't really think my mother loves me. You find out way later that you are a product of a rape for your mother. She wouldn't tell you then. All she would say was stuff like that. I kept all my kids. That is a sign of domestic violence. I kept all my kids. Given the choice, I wouldn't have. I kept all my kids. I hear a lot of abusive wives say that. That's what they're proud of. Not I gave birth to. It was like, I kept all my kids. No matter how many times I was raped. No matter how much I was beaten. No matter, I kept all my kids. So now your kids are indebted to you because you kept them in between getting punched and raped. So, for me, and I only had one, my daughter has no children. We didn't bring anybody to society so society can continue to oppress and abuse. And when we're gone, our line is gone. I'm alright with that. I'm alright with that. You see, I read an article, let's do some fingers, from Penn, my friend Penn's Facebook post. And she was talking about how women, you know, you couldn't work, you couldn't get jobs. The man had to sign for you to do anything. If he decided to starve you and the kids, he could, and every law in the land would back him. They talk about, that's what I couldn't understand, the bullshit with Iran and Iraq. Oh, the Iranian women, oh, it's so depressed, so oppressed, so oppressed. habibs. They gotta wear habibs. They gotta walk behind the man. They gotta walk behind the man. That's horrible. It's horrible for the Iraqi, Afghanistan people. They should be like we Americans. I used to look at them and say, what kind of new bullshit is this? You got 10 women and all them Congress fucking people. Shut up. At least we as African Americans, we pushing through and trying to get our representation in it. But you women, you white women, please. The black woman is like that because, you know, she's uncivilized. We're civilized because we go to church on Sunday and we know women are no good. We know women are no good. We are women too. But see, we're not as no good as the minority women. See, that's the advantage we have. And now you're looking at Roe versus Wade, but I'm telling you, during the time when folks wasn't getting abortions, I know my grandmother was getting rid of grandchildren that would hold her daughters' lives down, put them in a situation to be under control of violent men. Not doing it. Quality of life. Quality of this human life. Hey! Please like, comment, share. Tell a friend, tell a friend, tell an auntie, tell a neighbor. To go to Inspiration Sensation, just your pace. Thank you for the company. I believe next week we're going to be walking the whole week for an hour. I have 3.5 hours we got to make up. So I'm going to try to do that. But thanks for coming to the walk. Please like, comment, share, tell a friend, tell an auntie, tell an uncle, cousin, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.